Sure. So our first priority is obviously to keep the students and staff safe, and we've taken some important steps in that direction by implementing the CENTEGIX CrisisAlert Solution throughout the schools. So teachers and staff can now request help with the push of a button on their wearable crisis alert badge, is what it looks like. 3 clicks of the badge will initiate a staff alert, which is just an individualized request for help, right? And all of our responders get notified when that happens. And then multiple clicks will initiate a campus-wide lockdown. And our responders, our authorized administrators, can also initiate a campus-wide lockdown from a mobile or desktop app. So this solution does not depend on Wi-Fi or on an app to work. So that's a really big positive as a technology director for me. Worrying about the network impacting our response time is a big concern. So the fact that this is independent of that is a great thing. And then our staff they feel safer now that we have this solution in place, and they can request help with the push of a button. That's been a huge thing for us. So, is there anything about the beacons or?
Yeah, go ahead and talk about that as well.
Sure. So across campus and all the buildings and hallways and classrooms, we have these beacon devices they essentially act as strobes and locating devices. So they will light up depending on the situation. So for example, for a lockdown, they will flash red. And that helps alert staff and students that there's something taking place. And we also have intercom announcements play through a CENTEGIX intercom integration device. So all of those things in place help to keep track of where these badges are. They don't track staff locations until a button is pressed, and then it will alert all the responders where that button press took place, who pressed the badge, and they're able to go and respond and determine what took place, whether it's a student altercation or a medical emergency or anything like that. So,
Mr. Van Landingham, can you tell us about the difference between staff alerts and a crisis?
Absolutely. From a staff alert portion of that, like they've said before, it is something that allows us to be able to get those 10 responders immediately notified with just 3 clicks. Simply as I need help. From the portion of it where there's an actual lockdown procedure is a portion where they actually push it more than 8 times or 8 times. And then it sends out instantly in a notification way to be able to allow the strobes to immediately go off. And this all happens simultaneously. So you have the strobes that go off at one point in time immediately at that portion. Then you also have on the computer systems that are here that are part of our network, it pushes out a notification to them that says that you need to go move to your lockdown procedure. So on those as well. And then on top of that, it sends it out, obviously to the 10 responders to respond to that, if we need to be able to respond to it. But the most important thing that we figured out too was it immediately lets law enforcement know that they need to come here, that we have a situation that's here. So all of those things happen all by a staff member having the ability to be able to click it 8 times. And that is huge in a response time. We all know that, the responses to this is what, that's the difference between, saving lives is a response time. So anyway, that's kind of how that works.
In addition to this, we have a visitor check-in system that comes along with the program. Alex, could you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So we have visitor check-in stations in all 3 of our main offices on campus. And now visitors will be able to come in, they'll scan their driver's license. It's a real quick check-in procedure. It'll print out a sticker for them to wear, as well as we have enhanced visitor management badges that will allow certain responders like Brent to be able to monitor that person's location. So if they say, hey, we're going to the cafeteria, and instead they're going off to a different building, we're able to track them down and ask, why are they going to the wrong place and help them get to the right place. So that process, it's really simple, it's really quick, but it enhances our security because that scanning that driver's license will also allow us to run additional checks, such as if they're on any kind of registry list or something that we need to be notified about, say no contact kind of situation. So that's at all 3 of our main buildings.
Brent, anything else regarding lockdowns that you'd want to share? Parent behavior during a lockdown?
Oh, well, absolutely. The one thing that we definitely want, parents to know, when in a lockdown situation, it allows that notification to be able to let them know that, not to come here. We don't want the parents, obviously, to be able to come here to the campus. We will actually create a way for them to be able to pick their child up from that. in a response situation in anything that we've had, here in the county, that's always been a challenge because parents always want to come and try to save their kid and get their kid at this point. What they need to know is by far this is probably the safest thing at that point because you've got 150, 200 cops coming. So, I mean, it's going to be probably the safest place in the county at that moment, So, and we will definitely reach out to them and let them know where that location is to be able to pick their students up.
We have a couple of staff members that joined us, Kelsey Badley and Jana Richardson from the elementary. Kelsey, you had an incident in your classroom the other day and actually got to use your badge.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we had a student, it was not an emergency situation, but that I had alerted one of my administrator, and it was maybe escalating quicker than I had thought, so I went ahead and touched my button and held it, and they were there faster than I could have imagined. So it works really well, and it's very discreet. As to where if I would have called, probably would have escalated the situation, the child knowing that the administrator was coming.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey. And then Alex, you had something just to kind of go over one more time.
Sure. Brent briefly mentioned this, but we do have a desktop takeover portion of this as well. So in the event of a campus-wide lockdown, all of the computers on campus as well as staff laptops will create an alert that takes up the entire screen, and it will instruct them on what steps to take at that point. So that alert is campus-wide. So that goes along with the intercoms and the badge and the responder alert. So it's a comprehensive system.
About CENTEGIX is this doesn't replace our old procedures.
Okay.
And so this is just in addition to all the policies and procedures that we had for these emergency situations. So Brent, do you want to elaborate on that at all?
No, I mean,
If it were a lockdown with parents.
So whenever that happens, I mean, we have a deal to be able to reach out through our current system to be able to reach out to each one of those parents, broadcast that portion in and let them know where the actual evacuation portion, where they'd actually pick their child up. And so that was an existing one that was there prior to that. This just allows us to be able to get that notification very quickly.
Also, the reason this system really fit our district was because we have so many different buildings. We have a music room, we have a band building, we have an ag building. It's all here close, but there's a lot of buildings. There's two buildings for the middle school, there's 2 buildings for the elementary. We did have some gaps in the ability to communicate because of all of those different separate buildings. In particular, our band and ag. We're lacking in our ability to communicate quickly with them. So this really shored up our situation to be able to communicate an emergency situation with each building all over our campus. So that was huge for us, and it really fit us and our needs.
It also works outside the buildings as well. So if they're in the softball field, the parking lot, they're still able to trigger those alerts, which is super helpful.
And those alarms, those alerts are always there. The other great thing from a responder standpoint of the team that's here and then the team from law enforcement, as you look at this map is a very detailed map. You can see the face of it, but if you go down into it, it actually goes down into each one of those buildings and gives each one of those classrooms. So for instance, an individual is in whatever room that may be, it'll actually tell us that they're in room number such and such. They're in room number whatever that may be. From a responder, at least if you aren't familiar with the campus from a law enforcement standpoint, it allows them to know exactly where to go. And that is crucial. Time is of the essence.
And that day that Ms. Badley hit her button 3 times, I happened to be in the cafeteria, which is very close to her room, but it said room 60. I didn't know where room 60 is, but it said Badley. I knew where Badley's room was, so I was able to respond very quickly because of that. We want to hit a button and show her.
Yeah, we can demonstrate a staff alert. So in order to demonstrate a staff alert, or to trigger a staff alert, you just press this button 3 times. Just got a vibration. It might take a second to pop up on our map here. There it is. So you see it immediately. So immediately activated an alert in our staff office here in the administration building. So you can see who triggered it. You can see where it was triggered, what time. as well as the responders are able to respond to the alert and then close the alert once it's been handled.
One of the other great things of this is it allows you in that deal whenever you actually end one, it breaks them down to different categories. So if you're having a difficulty in a specific area, you can generate a report that you're having a difficulty in that area. So it's a wonderful, wonderful way that it's designed.
The great thing about CENTEGIX is in those situations where you always ask, well, what happens if that happens here? You know, the ability to put something around our teacher's neck or clipped to them gives them hopefully a little bit more of peace of mind that they're able to communicate quickly and that help is coming in their direction quickly.
So
And I
what
think
is-
that's the biggest strength. Of
What is the
platform.
cost of this to your district?
This year it's about $40,000. Now each year after that it decreases quite a bit, but we have a 5-year contract with them, and we feel like there's no price tag that you can put on safety that's too much to ask.
I think I appreciate that we have it. I know I sometimes walk from building to building, and I have students with me at all times, and I know the other teachers also as well whenever they walk kids to either the cafeteria or to the gym or to all the other activities. And we'd had to rely on our cell phones before if we had an emergency, and now all we have to do is just press this. And so to me that it makes me feel a lot safer, and I know that somebody is there and will be there quickly if I ever need them for any reason. And also as a parent, it just makes me feel just more confident that I know that my kids, if something happens, I know that they're going to be safe, and somebody's going to be there immediately if a situation arises.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of From Ink to Image Beyond the Headlines. To keep up with news from across the county, subscribe to the Countywide Sun, Pottawatomie County's only locally owned newspaper. Subscriptions start at just $42 a year, delivered weekly to your home. To subscribe, visit our website at countywidenews.com. This is Susie Campbell, publisher of the Countywide Sun, keeping you connected to the community where you live, work, and play.